Right now, there's a frequency humming beneath the surface of your everyday life. You can't quite name it, but you feel it in the spaces between your thoughts, in the pause before you fall asleep, in that split second when you catch your reflection and wonder who's looking back. Something massive is shifting, and whether you realize it or not, you're standing at the exact center of it. The old version of reality is starting to crack, and what's coming next will change everything you thought you knew about what's possible. Most people walk through life believing that change happens to them. They wait for external forces to shake things up, for opportunities to knock, for circumstances to align perfectly before they can step into something different. But what if I told you that the most profound transformations don't start outside? They begin with a subtle recalibration happening inside your own system right now. A quiet revolution that's been building momentum while you weren't even paying attention. Think about the last time you felt truly stuck. Maybe it was in a job that drained your energy, a relationship that felt more like a habit than a choice, or just the general sense that you were moving through life on autopilot. You probably told yourself it was temporary, that things would eventually shift if you just waited long enough. But waiting isn't what creates change. Recognition is. There's a moment that comes before every major breakthrough. It's not dramatic or obvious. It's more like a whisper that grows louder each noticing patterns day. You start you've never seen before. Conversations that feel different. Opportunities that seem to appear out of nowhere. People who suddenly enter your life with exactly what you need to hear. These aren't coincidences. They're signals that your internal navigation system has started tuning into a new frequency. Your brain is constantly filtering millions of pieces of information, deciding what deserves your attention and what gets ignored. Most of the time, this happens automatically. You see what you expect to see, notice what fits your current beliefs, and dismiss anything that doesn't align with the story you've been telling yourself. But when something deep inside you begins to shift, that filter starts adjusting. Suddenly, you're picking up on possibilities that were always there but remained invisible until now. This is why transformation often feels like waking up from a dream you didn't know you were having. The world looks the same, but your perception has sharpened. Colors seem more vivid. Conversations carry hidden meanings. Decisions that once felt impossible now seem obvious. It's as if someone adjusted the contrast on your reality, and details you couldn't see before are now crystal clear. The challenge is that most people resist this awakening because it feels uncertain. Your old patterns provided predictability, even if they didn't provide satisfaction. There's comfort in knowing exactly how each day will unfold, even if that predictability feels suffocating. But comfort and growth cannot coexist in the same space. When you choose one, you automatically release the other. Here's what happens when that internal shift reaches a tipping point. The things that used to work for you stop working. Relationships that felt stable start feeling empty. Goals that once motivated you lose their appeal. Habits that provided structure begin to feel like chains. This isn't a breakdown. It's a breakthrough trying to happen. Your system is outgrowing the containers that used to hold your life together. Think of it like a plant that's been growing in the same pot for years. At first, the container provides everything it needs: security, boundaries, a defined space to develop roots. But eventually, those same walls that once provided support become limitations. The plant can't expand any further without bursting through the edges. That pressure you feel isn't damage. It's growth demanding more space. Most people interpret this pressure as a problem to solve rather than a signal to trust. They try to fix what's breaking instead of asking why it needs to break. They attempt to force old solutions onto new challenges, wondering why nothing seems to work the way it used to. But you can't solve a growth problem with maintenance strategies. You can only solve it by allowing the expansion to happen. This is where courage becomes essential. Not the kind of courage that charges into battle, but the quieter courage that says yes to uncertainty. The courage that releases control over and true outcomes tests the process even when you can't see where it's leading. The courage that chooses possibility over predictability, even when predictability feels safer. When you finally stop resisting the shift and start cooperating with it, everything accelerates. Doors that seem permanently locked suddenly swing open. People who can help you appear as if summoned. Resources you need become available. Ideas that solve old problems arrive with perfect timing. This isn't magic, it's alignment. When your internal frequency matches what you're trying to create, the external world begins to mirror that harmony back to you. The key is learning to recognize these moments of alignment when they appear. They rarely announce themselves with fanfare. More often, they show up as subtle nudges, a conversation that sparks something new, an invitation that feels oddly perfect, a thought that won't leave you alone, a feeling that something important is about to happen, even though you can't explain why. Your intuition is picking up on patterns your conscious mind hasn't processed yet. It's reading the energy of situations before your logic can analyze them. It's sensing opportunities before they become obvious. This is why people who learn to trust their inner guidance seem to live charmed lives. They're not luckier than everyone else, they're just better at recognizing the signals that point toward their next level of growth. But here's the part most people don't expect. The bigger the transformation, the more resistance you'll encounter, not just from the world around you, but from parts of yourself that have been invested in the old way of being. Your ego will create stories about why change is dangerous. Your fear will manufacture evidence that staying put is safer. Your doubt will whisper that you are not ready, qualified, not deserving of what's trying to emerge. This internal resistance isn't your enemy. It's actually proof that something significant is happening. The stronger the pushback, the closer you are to a breakthrough that will fundamentally alter your trajectory. The resistance you feel isn't trying to protect you from failure. It's trying to protect you from success. Because deep down, your old system knows that once you step, you're into who becoming. There's no going back to who you were. And that terrifies the part of you that's been running the show for so long. Think about it this way. Every belief you carry, every habit you've developed, every reaction you default to, they all serve a function in maintaining your current identity. They're like employees in a company that's been operating the same way for years. When new management comes in with a vision that requires different skills, different approaches, different ways of thinking, those employees don't celebrate. They panic, because change means some of them might become obsolete. Your internal resistance works the same way. The voice that says you're not ready isn't giving you accurate information. It's trying to negotiate for its own survival. The doubt that questions whether you can handle what's coming isn't protecting you from disappointment. It's protecting itself from irrelevance. The fear that warns you about all the ways things could go wrong isn't keeping you safe. It's keeping itself employed. But here's what happens when you see through this dynamic. The resistance loses its power over you. Not because it disappears, but because you stop taking its advice so seriously. You start treating it like background noise instead of gospel truth. You acknowledge it without letting it drive the car. And that shift in relationship changes everything. When you stop negotiating with fear, you start negotiating with possibility. When you stop asking doubt for permission, you start asking wisdom for guidance. When you stop consulting worry about every decision, you start consulting intuition about the right timing. The conversation in your head completely transforms because you're talking to different parts of yourself. This is when synchronicities begin multiplying. Not because the universe suddenly decided to help you out, but because you're finally paying attention to the help that was always there. Your awareness expands beyond the narrow focus of survival mode into the broader perspective of growth mode. You start noticing connections you missed before, patterns that reveal themselves across seemingly unrelated areas of your life, themes that keep showing up until you finally get the message. Some people call this flow state, others call it being in the zone. But what it really is alignment between your conscious intentions and your subconscious programming. When these two levels of your mind stop working against each other and start working together, your capacity for creating change multiplies exponentially. Tasks that used to feel overwhelming become manageable. Problems that seemed impossible to solve reveal obvious solutions. Relationships that felt stuck begin moving in new directions. The momentum builds on itself. One aligned choice leads to another. One breakthrough creates space for the next. One door opening reveals 3 more doors you didn't know existed. What started as a whisper becomes a roar. What began as a possibility becomes inevitability. The change you sensed coming isn't just approaching anymore, it's arriving. And here's the beautiful part. Once you've experienced this level of alignment, once you've felt what it's like when your whole system is working in harmony, you can never fully go back to the old way of being. Not because it's impossible, but because it no longer appeals to you. It's like trying to be satisfied with a black and white television after you've seen everything in high definition. The contrast is too stark. The limitation is too obvious. This is why people who go through genuine transformation often describe it as a point of no return. not because they can't access their old patterns, but because those patterns no longer fit who they've become. It's like trying to wear clothes from childhood. The fabric might still exist, but your body has outgrown the space those garments were contained. The version of you that's emerging isn't just a slightly improved version of who you were. It's a fundamentally different operating system running on the same hardware. New priorities, new capabilities, new ways of processing information and making decisions, new relationships to time, to other people, to challenges, to possibilities. Everything familiar gets reorganized around this new center of gravity. People around you will notice before you do. They'll comment that something about you seems different, though they won't be able to pinpoint exactly what. Your energy will feel cleaner. Your presence will feel more solid. Your responses to situations will surprise them because they're used to your old patterns. You'll handle stress differently. You'll approach opportunities differently. You'll show up in conversations differently. But the most profound shift happens in how you relate to uncertainty itself, unknown, as a threat too. Instead of seeing the avoid, you start seeing it as a space of infinite possibility to explore. Instead of needing to control outcomes, you become curious about what wants to emerge. Instead of forcing your will onto circumstances, you learn to dance with the natural rhythm of change itself. This is what it means to stop fighting life and start partnering with it. To stop demanding that reality conform to your expectations and start discovering what reality is trying to offer you. To stop pushing against the current and start learning how to navigate with it. The river was always flowing in your direction. You just had to stop swimming upstream long enough to feel which way the water wanted to carry you. The frequency you've been sensing, that subtle hum beneath the surface of your ordinary days, wasn't imagination. It was recognition. Your system picking up on the signals that transformation was already in motion, already reshaping the foundation of who you're becoming. The pressure you felt, the restlessness, the sense that something had to give, it was never a problem to solve. It was life itself preparing you for expansion. Right now, in this moment, you're not the same person who started watching this video. Something has shifted in your awareness. The old containers that felt too small, the patterns that stopped serving you, the resistance you've been carrying, they're all part of a system that's ready to evolve. And the beautiful truth is, you don't have to force any of it. You just have to stop fighting what's already happening. The change you can feel coming isn't something you need to create. It's something you need to allow. Trust the frequency, trust the signals, trust the part of you that knows exactly what wants to emerge, even when your mind can't explain it yet, because something is about to change forever. And you're not just ready for it, you're the one it's been waiting for.